Did you know Hillary Clinton has a new book out? The failed presidential candidate is embarking on a massive promotional campaign for her memoir of the 2016 election, where she's again blaming everything from James Comey to the Russians to sexism for her loss. And she's again condemning the so-called deplorables for President Trump's triumph.
He was willing to play, let's not forget, Islamophobic politics, homophobic politics, sexist politics. I mean, he hit every single area of resentment and grievance that people were feeling. And his racism, which was endemic to his campaign, wasn't subtle at all.
She's also refusing to accept blame for being on the wrong end of the biggest political upset in decades.
When it comes to the self-inflicted wounds, when you look at the list of them, and you go through them in the book, did you make enough mistakes yourself to lose the election without any of the other things you talk about?
Well, I will say no, Matt. I don't think that will surprise you.
All right. So, Kimberly, remember when President Obama, or then Senator, said, Hillary, you're likable enough? Apparently he was wrong about that, too.
Aw. Don't make me feel sorry for her for 5 seconds there.
I kind of do.
But here's what's interesting. She's actually doing a better job of promoting this book and
yes.
being far more fascinating and interesting than she ever was as a presidential candidate. Certainly, God bless, because she was the first female to run like she did, the whole deal. I give her credit and props for that. But now it's all of a sudden Hillary actually is somebody that everyone's talking about, the contents of the book, because she is being pretty forthright and pretty transparent, talking about everything and all the reasons why and how the whole, kill list of everybody that's wronged her or poorly advised her, everyone, who's responsible. I think Hannity had last night the 32 new, reasons why she lost.
That's right.
The election. But, obviously she's mad at, there's broke up with Matt Lauer. I don't know. There's no love lost there.
That's true. They had such a good thing going. Juan, I feel like she's not in touch with reality, Hillary Clinton, and I feel bad for her, but that's probably why she lost the election.
Why do you think she's not in touch with reality?
I mean, because she's blaming everything under the sun for her loss except her own performance.
Well, I think her performance is part of it. I really still think that there wasn't a great campaign and she wasn't a great candidate. But that's not to say that that's the reason she lost. I mean, she's in the book and in the interviews that she's been doing, she's been quite specific about the impact of Comey's decision just days before the election to restart this investigation, its impact on women voters in Philadelphia suburbs. And, she's not making up the numbers. Those are analytics done by other people that show she took a steep drop once Comey came back and introduced the idea that, this investigation, this email stuff, is never going to stop.
Well, she did put the emails on a private server, so ultimately it's her responsibility.
You know what?
There's nothing charming there.
The counter to this, interestingly, from your perspective, Jesse, is that it was us at Fox and Fox Business who focused so heavily on the emails. But guess what? It wasn't the swing voters and it wasn't the Democrats who went over to Trump. I mean, so I don't know that you can blame it, but she feels like there was unnecessary attention to what otherwise would have been a small topic.
Yes. Anyway, Dana.
Yes.
How would you like to respond to Juan Williams?
Good transition.
Well, it made me think of something about an anecdote that I remember that Donna Brazile told about Philadelphia suburban women in the year 2000. So it's neck and neck, Gore and Bush, and Gore just can't pull ahead of President Bush in that area. And they think, well, that could be a real problem for us because Pennsylvania was one of the possible states that President Bush didn't end up winning. But when they do the focus group a week before the election, they ask a basic question. Who would you rather go to prom with, George W. Bush or Al Gore? And to a person, they're like, George W. Bush, because I'd have a lot more fun and it would be great. And she said that that's when she thought that they would probably lose. And it was that likability factor. So it does really get back to that. And Mark Stein on Tucker Carlson's show just had, I thought it was a really good point, that the media did cover the email story, partly because they were forced into it, but the New York Times did break the story. And also, she's so predictable, and President Trump was not, and that human nature is to go and look for something that is new and interesting, and so President Trump benefited from that. The other thing she doesn't do in this book at all is admit that just a small bit of effort in Wisconsin, in Michigan, and what's the other one? There's a third
Pennsylvania.
one. Pennsylvania, that could have actually turned things around for her. But certainly in Wisconsin.
Yeah, don't you think? I mean, that was a pivotal.
She was asked, like, should you have gone to Wisconsin?
Yeah.
She goes, oh, well, we campaiged there. She sent Tim Kaine and her husband there. That's just not the same.
Yeah, Tim Kaine definitely doesn't drive the vote. Greg.
Bill in the doghouse again.
When you see Hillary out there, and she is doing a great job promoting this book, it kind of reminds everybody, I believe, why they didn't want her as president, because she's not a leader.
No one has made more off losing than Weight Watchers. I mean, she beats Weight Watchers, the Washington Generals, you name it, the Cubs. She's like the back of an old stamp. She's bitter and she can't get the job done.
Ooh.
No, I can't be nice.
Still sticky though?
Yeah, I can't be nice to her after hearing what she just did. You know, the things that she just said is essentially she just did the deplorables all over again.
She doubled down.
She just dismissed an entire group of people as racist, homophobic, Islamophobic. Her slogan should go from "I'm with her" to "I'm withered," because she's past her sale date. You know, and her book tour is essentially saying, "This is what you get. More of me." It's like, this is your punishment because you didn't vote for me.
Right.
I'm going to your town. Maybe she will go to Wisconsin. If she can sell books there now, she'll go to Wisconsin. She's like a reverse ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
You know what? Nobody's running out to chase her. They're all climbing behind the windows and peering out the blinders. Is she gone? I just find it very depressing
She's the only
and
one.
sad.
She's not tired of herself. Like, that's the thing. She's like, listen, I got something else to tell you, and another reason why.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like I kind of was like, hey, maybe this is kind of interesting. But after listening to that weird, stilted, manufactured in front of a weird background of her unloading this litany of like race cards, Islamophobic card, homophobic card, I go, you know, who needs it? Who needs it? This is not good for the country.
Right.
This is why she lost. Shut up and go away.
Wait a second. So, in other words,
It should be
if she calls
chances,
out
though?
Trump and says Trump played to those, in fact, what she said was kind of interesting to me. She said no other Republican. He was the leading Republican because other Republicans would not play the race card, wouldn't go
she's
after the Mexicans and homophobic and Islamophobic. And you're saying, oh, no, that didn't happen, and she shouldn't mention it.
She can't come up with one example of homophobia. The guy was for gay marriage before Obama was. But you know who she is? She is exactly like Michael Scott of The Office. Remember Michael Scott? Oblivious to the flaws that are on display for everybody. When he walks into the office, he thinks he's got it made, and everybody's going, oh, my God, he's so resistible. She is so resistible, but her entire life is a blind spot.
Right.
She cannot see the men she chose in her life, from Bill Clinton to keeping Weiner around through her friend. I mean, these are massive mistakes that she refused to acknowledge. It's just when you see it like this, you go like, again, go away.
I guess that makes Tim Kaine Dwight Schrute.
Yes, nicely done.
She ruined his career, too, to be honest. Like, he's done, unless he's like backup harmonica. I mean, he plays a harmonica pretty nice.
I want to get Kimberly's reaction because Hillary is at it again on CNN saying this about the inauguration.
I write in the book about how really strange it was to sit there and to listen to the kind of speech that was so divisive. The rhetoric was hot. I call it a cry from the white nationalist gut. Instead of taking the moment to say, you know what, I want to reach out and be the president for everybody. You know, he didn't win the popular vote. He squeaked through in the Electoral College. He had a chance to really begin to fill the role, and that didn't happen that day.
So, Kimberly, she's not trying to unite the country, obviously. She's still trying to divide by saying that Trump's a white nationalist and he's playing on white nationalist fears. That's not usually what someone does when they lose a presidential election. They kind of achieve an elder statesman status. She's not achieving that.
Well, it's pretty unprecedented. You haven't seen anybody else behave in this fashion,
Never.
have you?
Never.
No, you have not. You didn't see 41 when he lost, you know, to Bill can behave in this way. So it really just tells you a
Gore
lot.
didn't behave
no.
like this?
I mean, he's a little climate freak. But
She is a
other than
first.
that-
This is a first.
But it's true, but it's very bad. If anybody's deplorable, it's her behavior and conduct. And I really think so. I don't think that it's setting a good example. She should be dignified and say, okay, it did not work out. I tried very hard. And I don't know if she thinks she's ingratiating herself to people by being divisive like this and actually just really perpetuating a false narrative by trying to say that the president is a white nationalist. I mean, we were all there for that. We were there for his inaugural address. And, I didn't hear it like that. And I just think it's too much of a far stretch. She loses credibility by trying to tell us what to think and change actually the narrative.
You know what hurts me is I think a lot of people did hear that, Kimberly. And so it's not just Mrs. Clinton. And you talk about her being blind. I wonder if, you could also say it in reverse, that, gosh, somehow Donald Trump said some pretty incendiary things. And some people might say, well, that's the great disruptor, and we wanted change. I think lots of people wanted change. But to just turn away and pretend, race, distaste, playing on resentments and grievances wasn't part of it, to me, that's a blindness, too.
No, I think when he was saying make America great again, he was talking about all of America, and she chose to chop it up into pieces. He only means white America. He doesn't mean you. This is a guy that worked in New York for years in Queens. He worked with every kind of person. He doesn't care about who you sleep with or what you look like, only if you can help him.
Unless you're in his pageant.
But you know what? She wanted to be a first, and she is a first. She's the first presidential candidate to lose an election and write a whine all, a blame all.
Oh my God.
Ford didn't do it, Dukakis didn't do it, Dole didn't do it, and nobody. She is a historical first. Congratulations.
I love the whine all.
It's a whine all or a blame all?
All right, coming up.